Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of People of Distinction, the talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, peopleofdistinction.org for more info, or you can always email me directly at benji@alcoleenterprises.com. And on the line with us today, we have Lauren Mahakian. We're going to be discussing her amazing book, Unlocking the Doors of Dementia. Practical help for families and their loved ones. Now, people, it's available for purchase through Amazon as well as barnesandnoble.com, pretty much all the regular online book resellers. But if you want to gather everything that Lauren has in store, do yourself a favor and head directly to her personal site. That's called FamilyConnectMemoryCare.com. There you'll find more information on Lauren herself, more information on this impressive book, as well as find the hyperlink set up to take you to the purchasing pages. So one more time, that's FamilyConnectMemoryCare.com. And before we go any further, I want to take this opportunity and point out that Lauren was brought to our network, People of Distinction, today by one of the best advertising firms in the business. And people, if you follow us, well, you already know I'm talking about CITI of Books. So listen to me. For my writers out there, listen to me and listen to me good. If you have gone through your process, you have spent countless amounts of hours, and I'm talking some sleepless nights here, creating your book, creating your masterpiece, and now you've accomplished it. You have gotten to the end of the road. You have it within your grasp, although you realized you need help moving the book you just finished writing. Well, if that's you, I got some advice for you. Contact CITI of Books. They're one of the best in the business to do it, and people, this is exactly what they specialize in. So head on over to cityofbooks.com today and gather all of the ways that their fantastic team is going to help you do just that. And listen, it is a true pleasure to have Lauren here on the line. Now, people, right there in the title, there's no beating around the book. All right, we got the idea, right? We have an idea of what we're discussing here today. Now, listen, it's a tough topic to tackle. It is something that, for anybody that has dealt with it, either themselves or have a family member or someone close to them that has been affected with dementia or Alzheimer's, you understand how difficult this is. But here's the alarming fact, people. 1 in 3 individuals over the age of, I believe it was categorized as over the age of 85, are going to be affected with dementia. So chances are you listening in right now know someone that has it, or again, depending on who you are, may have started to develop some early symptoms, if not already have it. Well, if we know that it's such a high number of the population that is going to be affected with it in one way or another, shouldn't we be prepared? Shouldn't we start to have these conversations so we can understand what to expect and how to care for our loved ones that are affected with it? People understand, I get it. This is a tough thing to swallow. It might not be a very pleasant conversation to have, but you should be prepared. Just in case it does happen. And like I said, the statistics speak for themselves. So it is an absolute delight to have Lauren here on the line because this is a self-help narrative that is so informative. It is pulled not only through research, but also from her own experience. Because I'm telling you, Lauren has a lot of it, okay? She herself has spent decades working with patients affected with dementia and Alzheimer's. So she knows better than most what the symptoms look like and how to help caregivers treat either their patients or their loved ones in the best possible way. This is something that I think needs to be on everyone's shelf, not only because it affects such a high volume of the population, but also the dark side of the medical world is the business side of things. The money to be gained in the medical world. And listen, we're going to dabble in that a little bit. I'm not going to go too far into it. My wife is a physician. She tells me constantly some of the negative aspects. So I am very well aware of how when money infiltrates something, how much it can affect the integrity of that particular business. Medicine, unfortunately so, has succumbed to that as well. So listen, people, there's a lot that we have to discuss here, and there's only so much that we're going to be able to tackle in a short interview. So I promise you, by the time we've concluded here today, you're going to run to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Family Connect, MemoryCare.com, and purchase your copies as well, because you're going to realize how valuable of a resource this book truly is. And at the end of the day, don't take my word for it. Take Lauren's. It's her book. She's written it. And she's going to be able to articulate it much better than I ever could. So sit back, strap in, and have your notebooks ready. Lauren, first and foremost, welcome to People of Distinction, and thank you very much for being a guest with us today. How are you?
I'm great, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Lauren, the pleasure is all ours. I truly mean this. What you have done here, I think, is so needed because so many people are affected by this. And, as we were briefly discussing on the pre-screening call, we know the dark side of the medical world when it comes to the business aspect, the business side of things, and how often people operate solely for the acquisition of money. So I think what you're doing here is honorable. It's so informative, and it's absolutely needed. So thank you for being with us here to discuss it. Before we go into the book, Lauren, tell us a little bit more about your background, please.
Well, sure. So I'm a certified dementia practitioner and a geriatric care manager, and have been for over 15 years, and have held the hands of hundreds of families who have been going through the journey of dementia. As I say, there's many dimensions to dementia and many doors to unlock with this disease. But with that being said, I facilitate support groups in person and on Zoom, and do speaking engagements as well. Decided to write this book over 5 years ago. Actually been writing the book for about 5 years, when I really realized, families facing the disease for the first time were victimized by, misleading information and marketing tactics that took advantage of their cries for help to generate sales, to generate sales leads. Mm-hmm. It happened. It even happens in my in-person support groups. I have sometimes people who come posing as family caregivers, only to find out that they're trying to sell a product to the attendees. And, support groups are supposed to be a safe place for people to share. Yeah. So, it's even more true today than it was 5 years ago, but, good advice was clear and available online, but there was no authoritative collection, existed. And I was just really tired of seeing families victimized, I think, like I mentioned earlier to you, by an industry that cared more about the profits than helping people. So, I don't serve donuts. Okay. I don't sugarcoat anything. So I figured a book that was to the point and no nonsense without selling a service, would help people.
Yeah. Lauren, I love that last notion that you said. Well, listen, I love everything that you said, but that last notion, at first I wasn't sure. I was like, you don't give donuts. You're getting me hungry here. What are we talking about? But I was able to follow along and piece it together, putting my stomach aside. But Lauren, I think what you're talking about here, and just giving that no nonsense approach, giving the information and not sugarcoating it, as difficult as it may be to swallow in the moment, I think is ultimately the best way to go. And it really is Like, let's just get to the heart of this, right? So I think what you're doing is fantastic. And my next follow-up question, I guess, would be, what inspired you to write this book? So you're talking about your years of practice, the support groups that you're running as well. I think it's safe to assume the answer to inspiration, but I don't want to assume. You know what happens when you do that. So talk to us about why you felt that this was almost a call to action, it seems, to create this book.
Well, it actually was a call to action. Many of my families kept asking me, when are you going to write a book? You need to write a book. And, luckily we had a pandemic that, basically gave me inspiration to get more serious about sitting down and writing the book and completing it, which, I did and was excited to have it published. But, I just realized that I was developing new experiences with every new case, and many people facing the disease for the first time, and just really felt that this book is different from any other book that's out there on the disease, because this is a self-help book. It's a guide. So basically, families can just, readers can just go to the table of contents, look at one of the sections that they're dealing with. Let's say, combative behavior. They can go to that and from the table of contents, and then go to that page and read everything about understanding combative behavior, how to prevent it, how to respond. That's basically what this book is a guide.
Yeah.
For families.
Love that. Listen, people, again, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Family Connect, MemoryCare.com are the places you have to go. Pick up your copies today and allow her words to help guide you through this very difficult situation that you and your loved ones find yourselves in. And now, without further ado, Lauren, let's go a little bit more into the guide that you set up. Let's go into the words on those pages, Unlocking the Doors of Dementia. Tell us a little bit more about it.
Well, there are many doors to unlock, and I hear the families knocking at each door, basically. When they are faced with a new behavior that they don't know how to deal with, and reaching out to me, attending my support groups, learning, and then applying what they've learned, and that's what this book does, is that there are tips and techniques that they can apply. Okay, but once a family caregiver has mastered one behavior or one symptom, they feel really great, fabulous. But then there's a new one that pops up. Yeah. So that's what this book basically does, is it unlocks every door. Behind every door, there's a behavior and a symptom. And that is why I came up with the title, Unlocking the Doors of Dementia.
Mm-hmm. Lauren, I hear you talking about all of these varying degrees of dementia. Now, for someone like myself that is a novice in this particular field, right? This is not something I am very familiar with. And I'm sure a lot of my listening audience members, maybe, again, depending on their age, maybe they are also, they know about it. And I think the common perception of dementia is, of course, mental decline, right? Confusion and disorientation. But I want to go into a little bit more of an elaboration here. Talk to our listening audience about certain symptoms, some of the early signs of dementia, so we know what to look out for.
Sure. So, early signs would be forgetting, appointments, not being able to balance, let's say, their checkbook, not attending family gatherings, not getting together with friends like they used to, kind of withdrawing, from friends, Getting lost while driving, not finding their way home, even from like going to a familiar place near their home, quick to anger, quick agitation, not showering on a regular basis, forgetting to take medications, not paying their bills, starting to see lots of bills, or other pieces of mail pile up on the table.
Yeah.
Things like that. These are all signs.
And for tips for caregivers out there that recognize these signs with their particular, either, again, if they're a caregiver, their patients, or their loved ones, what would be some helpful tips to care for someone with dementia?
Well, first of all, we always want to be proactive. We always want to take a proactive approach, not a reactive approach. And if it's a loved one and you're recognizing, signs of confusion and memory loss, we want to, number one, always and continue to empower them and not make them feel threatened, that their independence is threatened,
right?
That their dignity is not and will never be compromised. Especially in the early stages, our loved ones, they mask their impairment. They're aware. They're aware that they're having memory problems, and so they're very scared and very protective of themselves because they don't know what's happening. And what's going to happen to them. So for a family caregiver, I have a term that I always say, go low, go slow. But the first thing to do is always, see your primary physician. Just get a checkup, and basically that's what I mean by go low, go slow when approaching your loved one to see the doctor, because they're most likely not going to want to see the doctor because they're afraid of what the doctor is going to find.
Yeah. Lauren, I think that's a great point that you bring up. And it really, the way I interpret that is it comes down to empathy, right? And being able to empathize with this individual and understand that the circumstance that they are going through, I mean, listen, that carries weight, right? That's a lot to handle. And like you said, having rights restricted and freedoms then taken away, just the thought of that can bring on a lot of worries and stress. So approaching it in a very careful way. Go ahead, Lauren.
No, absolutely. And, a person with dementia can still live a good quality of life.
Yeah.
They can. And I've proven that through my work. I have memory care homes where we take care of dementia, Alzheimer's, and Parkinson's, and all of our residents are empowered. And we support our families to learn how to empower their loved ones and give them back their sense of purpose, bring back what they once enjoyed doing. And this book definitely supports families with tips and techniques on how to do that.
I love it.
Because that's what happens to a person when they have memory loss, is that they lose their sense of themselves. Mm-hmm. They feel they have no sense of purpose, but a person with dementia still has sense of purpose.
People, I'm telling you, I'm convinced. All right. I didn't need to go through this 20-minute discussion to convince. I was convinced before. I mean, just doing some research, you're going to see how impactful this book is. But through this short discussion, I know a lot of you listening in are just like me, right? You recognize the wisdom to be gained, and you're already heading on over there, okay? So as we close out here, my last question, Lauren, we've covered so much information today, and first and foremost, thank you very much for all of that. But is there anything that we haven't yet touched up on that you really want to make sure our listening audience is aware of?
just go low, go slow, and be proactive and not reactive, and you'll be okay. As I always say to all my families, all will be good.
Love that. Love that. Listen, people, it starts with you, okay? It starts with raising your awareness. It starts with understanding the journey ahead. The precipice for all of this is unlocking the doors of dementia. This book is going to illuminate a lot of the darkness that your course is heading towards. And it is, believe me, understand, it is a dark path. It is a scary one, but it's one with plenty of resources. And this book is one of the best. Head on over to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Family Connect, MemoryCare.com today. Pick up your copies. And of course, you have Lauren Mahakian to thank for all of it. Lauren, this has been a true pleasure, an absolute delight. Thank you once again for being a guest on People of Distinction.
Thank you for having me.